Welcome back to The Bulwark Goes to Hollywood. My name is Sonny Bunch. I am culture editor at The Bulwark, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Ray Mendoza, who is the co-director and co-writer of the new film Warfare. He wrote and directed this with Alex Garland. It's very intense, very direct movie. Mr. Mendoza, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you was about the tagline of this movie, because I think this will help people understand what you guys are going for and how you made it. Everything is based on memory. And I wanted to ask you what that means. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, everything sourced in the movie is based off of memory. I feel Alex and I discussed this kind of, based off real events or based off a true story. And we felt that gives filmmakers some sort of creative licensing. And so the way we did this film, it was sourced off of memory, being that we were going to recreate this my intention was to create this for Elliot, who doesn't remember what had happened, and Elliot Miller, who's played by Cosmo Jarvis. So I wanted it to be as accurate as possible for him. But that was going to require a collective of memories, not just mine. My memories weren't reliable enough because post IED blast, things started to get fragmented, right? And so there's no way that the movie could be done on my memory alone. So I had a call upon my teammates to start filling in the gaps, right? So, someone is to fill in the gaps that I had, my memory, fragments. Someone had to say, well, this is what I observed you doing. Because I can't recall some of it. And so the more people we interviewed, we would solve some memory issues or, from other guys, but then it would create more memory gaps for that person. So it kind of became this very detective-like work and forensic approach to, these puzzle pieces that slowly started to fall into place each time we interviewed someone along the way. And so, we just felt it was a more truthful statement to say that this film is based off of our memories, because that's what we did.
Reading the production notes, it really sounded like an almost journalistic project. Like you guys were interviewing people and sitting down and putting together an outline that you then turned into a script.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I've done some documentaries. I've done a few docuseries. So yeah, similar approach, same approach. Yeah. You're just sitting down, talking through it, coming back, asking questions. Hey, we went a little bit more emotional on it as well. Just, we needed material, not only just the physical actions of where you were, what did you do, what were you carrying, but even how were you feeling here? If you're, they may say, I was really afraid. And well, what did you do to get out of that, that flight kind of mentality? Because we were going to need something for the actors to use, and even for me to use as one of the directors to track those arcs.
This sort of process really does create kind of a warts and all depiction of what happened. I mean, it is watching, of course, I wasn't there. I have no idea. But watching it, it feels like there is stuff in this that you might feel, embarrassed to relate, or that doesn't necessarily make the team look great. I mean, it's a fascinatingly kind of blistering look at what happened on that day.
Yeah, it's very humanistic, as in that. Yeah, we're not mythologized in a way, but I would actually say the opposite. I think it shows that though mistakes were made by this ID, which these cascading events, I think it actually shows how well trained we were, because to bounce back from something like that takes a lot of effort. And I'll use this kind of analogy that I was a training instructor for a long time in the SEAL teams as well. And there's something we always try to achieve. Like, if this is perfection on an operation, accidents are going to happen. Things are going to happen that are going to cause your plan to deviate, right? It's what you do to get back on track and how quickly you do that. So things are going to happen, but the units separate the good units from the bad units is how quickly you can get back on track. And so I think this is a demonstration of how we were able to get back on track after a catastrophic event like an IED crippling our position. So I wanted to show how deep, when trying to function in a concussive state, what it takes to come back from that. And it takes a lot of teamwork. It takes a lot of sacrifice to get back to that center line. So I look at it as that. Yeah.
What you just said there about being in a concussive state, one of the things that's fascinating about the movie, again, for me as somebody who is watching it who has not been in combat, has not dealt with the effects of concussive brain trauma. The film does a very good job, I think, of immersing the audience into that in ways that I didn't entirely expect or had really never seen before. Because you always see in the war movie the guy who gets thrown from a car and he's kind of woozy for a second, and then it snaps right back to like, okay, here's the action. But in this movie, you have extended periods where people are out of it. I mean, like really, really out of it, where the audience is out of it because you play with the soundtrack in certain ways. How much input did you have there in terms of the sound mixing and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, a lot of input. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm having to convey not just my memories of it, but other people's memories of it, of what did you hear? What did it feel like? As I mentioned before, but more specifically, there's, in the IED blast, oftentimes when someone's afraid, and this is not just in combat, this is in general, when, someone's in an accident or in a fire and you start asking them, and you can like look up books on this, where you start asking like, hey, what color were the things? Like things tend to be more black and white. Your sensories start to kind of deplete or shut down because your brain needs to function. It's like, yeah, I need to operate at a low bandwidth right now. You don't need to see colors. You don't need to hear anything right now. I'm going to take over for you. And for us, and that what that means for us is it's training, right? It's just why we do so many repetitions of things. And we try to do it the right way, because oftentimes when someone in a very high stress environment for long periods of time, your brain will just kind of take over. You'll kind of go in autopilot for fractions of time. It's just a lot to process. And so for me, some of the sound design stuff you're talking about, there was communications coming through my ears. I have those Paltors. It's a dual headset. I'm receiving two frequencies at once. I didn't hear anything. I just thought like my radio got blown up or something. I didn't know until like I started to. I was probably being shot at the whole time. I had no idea. All of a sudden, I just heard one snap, and it just brought me back. And those communications were going on the whole time. So when you see DeFaro dragging Cosmo up the driveway, and you hear all that sensory starting to come back, like that's how it felt to me. So yeah, that's an example of some of the sound design that we were doing.
Yeah, and there's this great moment where I think it's DeFaro unplugs you, as Ray Mendoza unplugs the headset, and he's trying to talk to him. He's like, "Why am I not getting anything?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I gotta plug it back in." It's.
Yeah, I was super frustrated with myself when I was like, "You're a freaking idiot." Yeah, but I wanted to be really honest with it. It just shows. But it's okay. You get back on track, and it didn't change the outcome so much. The injuries are the injuries, but yeah, there's this. I think all those little things that, again, it's things are going to happen, right? You can either dwell on it and go deeper in the hole, or get back to that center line. So
yeah. I want to go back to you mentioned memory again, and I want to just hit on this for a minute. When you were going through the reporting process, for lack of a better word, were there things that you learned that you were surprised by? Were there things that other people were like, "Oh, wow, I don't remember that. How did this happen?" What was the biggest surprise you found as you were going through the process of remembering?
Yeah, the biggest surprise. So there's, and kind of in the beginning of the film, where the family is exposed at night, there's a brick wall that's bricked up there. So we had sourced some pictures of the home, and there's parts of the home that we didn't recognize. Even for me, I was like, I don't remember that wall. And I was like, I think these are the wrong pictures. Like some of them are correct, but some of these I don't remember at all. And talking to, we would show them to each guy as we interviewed him, and they were saying the same thing. Like, I don't remember that wall. I don't remember that wall. Until we found one of the last guys, Joe Hildebrand, played by Joseph Quinn. And he was on set. We showed him the pictures, and he was like, I remember that wall. And Alex and I looked at each other. We're like, oh, shit. This is the house. Like, some of the pictures were inaccurate. It was the house. And so the night before, we went to production design. Like, we need to build this wall right here because there was a wall there. And he was the only one that remembered it. And so that scene where they're breaking down the wall, like that cement was, like, the mortar on it was like still wet. Like, that's how last minute of an addition that was. And just to show you that none of us remembered it, except for him.
So you're talking about the wall that you had to break down to get into the second floor?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. To fill people. Actually, I should have done this at the beginning. Could you just give people a quick explanation of what happens in the movie to set the scene for them, so they can kind of understand what we're discussing here?
Yeah, we were conducting an Overwatch. In doing so, we had to find a home that was strategically beneficial in order to overwatch some Marines that were doing a clearance operation. We succeeded the mission. The Marines cleared through the sector that they were clearing. Shortly after that, we had lost air support. The enemy had moved in and around our position, compromising our position essentially with grenades. Thus, I think us having to do an extraction. Upon extraction, we hit a IED, which crippled our small element.
Yeah. And the wall we're discussing here is, as you were entering the house that you were doing the Overwatch from, you were surprised to find that the second floor had been bricked up.
Yeah, it was essentially two apartments. Essentially, they just amortized it and turned it into two apartments.
Yeah,
breaking it off. Yeah,
that's a crazy thing. That's a crazy thing to forget and then have to remember, just because it's a really
well, it wasn't I forgot it. I just wasn't there when they broke the wall down. I was on comms, probably communicating something downstairs at the time. Yeah. So I just wasn't the one. He was the one that broke the wall down. So therefore, it was at night. I was at Nods. I probably walked through a hole. I had no idea who did it. I probably didn't even know it was a brick wall there. I didn't. Yeah. To be honest. But
yeah. No, again, it's really the whole memory aspect of this is fascinating to me, because we like to think of our memories as infallible, and obviously that's just not the case in the best of circumstances, and this is clearly not the best.
Yeah, and then you factor in time, you factor in dreams. I've had so many dreams about it, like I sometimes don't know what's real anymore.
Talk a little bit about that. What sort of dreams do you have about that?
Yeah, anywhere from it being, reliving it out. There's like dreams where Elliot, he does get blown up, but he just gets up and walks around, and we're laughing and we're in a gunfight. And, but then I wake up and it's not real. He's actually not talking and he's not walking. He didn't recover. And it's just like different ways it plays out, Sometimes there isn't an IED, and people that are in my dream, there's other teammates of mine that are there that weren't really there. And like your dreams just start to, and then 20 years later, you're just like trying to remember it, and you're just like start to make up elements of a story that never existed. But that's where all the other guys come into play, and the investigative and forensic kind of approach to it starts to eliminate those things.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about moving from being in the Navy, being a SEAL, and into the entertainment industry, into Hollywood, and bringing other members of the armed forces with you? Because I think this is a really fascinating part of your story, is the move into stunt work and action design, that sort of thing. So you worked with Peter Berg on Lone Survivor, and then on Act of Valor. Talk a little bit about not just bringing your own experiences, but helping to get other former service members into the stunt community, the action community.
Yeah, so when I started getting into stunts, I'm doing stunts, and I typically work through stunts. Like my department or my title is a tech advisor. I usually work under stunts because the tech advisor is not a union job, right? And I know a lot of stunt guys, and so there's like things you get residuals if you're part of the union. You don't if you just sign on as a contractor or loan out. Not under a union, you don't get residuals. So, that came from just like stunt guys. Be like, man, you got your SAG card. So I started doing stunts. I would even go on as a stunt, under stunts as a tech advisor. So that's kind of how I got involved with stunts. But, I would do a lot of training. They would hire me to train stunt guys sometimes. There's stunt doubles for actors, for people like Mark Wahlberg or Taylor Kitsch, and you name it. Then I started to find, and this is like in the beginning of kind of this huge influx of veterans into the industry. I found that using veterans in conjunction with stunt guys, it was just easier just to use veterans instead of a stunt guy. Stunt guys are good at, they're good at everything, but like driving cars and jumping out of windows and getting lit on fire and whatnot. But when it came to, at the time, using weapons and tactics and like room clearances, they're great, right? They're very athletic and they can learn it, but that takes time. That takes days for me to teach them that. Where I could just call in a ranger, a Green Beret, and some guys that I know, and I don't have to say anything. I could say, "Hey, clear that room," and then boom, they do it, and then they could just shoot it. And that's the only stunt they would do. So that was kind of like the beginning of like introducing, or at least for me, using like a lot of veterans to help me choreograph it and to help me execute these kind of realistic depictions of combat. Then we all started to get our SAG cards and working in stunts, and then some guys would actually go into stunts. I would just bring in guys for just that one project, maybe because they needed a job or they were just bored and didn't know what they wanted to do. And so it was a great community because I'd have some Rangers there and Green Berets there and SEALs, and everyone's just talking shit to each other and making jokes. And it's like almost like being in the military again. But you're getting paid way better. You're eating way better, and you're in better locations. And so it was cool. It was a great environment. And I still do that. And so, it doesn't mean they have to have a career in that. They don't have to do that. But some guys do kind of do a lateral transfer over into stunts, or maybe they want to be a writer, so on and so forth. So now, fast forward 15 years later, I think just I'm now in a position to hire people as department heads and, DPs or writers. I got friends that are in writers' rooms now for different shows.
Oh yeah,
which is awesome. It's like we're all growing up in the industry, and it's like we all help each other when we need help. But they're a great source. Yeah, they are great storytellers. They've seen a lot of trauma. They've seen a lot of things that probably you as a young woman or man probably shouldn't experience. But it gives them things to write about, into characters they can fold into. It doesn't have to be a military movie, but I think they're able to write some pretty in-depth characters, and it's great.
And then of course you worked with Alex Garland on Civil War. In particular, the thing that gets highlighted a lot is that final assault on the White House, which is just an amazing sequence. I mean, like, as somebody who lived in DC for a while, just a very intense and kind of unsettling experience. When you were building that sequence out, what was Garland looking for from you, and in terms of building out a realistic attack pattern there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the theme of his whole film, like, he just wanted realism, grounded, just very grounded action, which I was good at. And so, yeah, just the grounded action was great. And yeah, I guess he loves the details, right? The just like the texture of it all. You know, the guns are great, right? They look great on camera. But it's the texture of it. It's the rawness of it. Like this kind of verite kind of film styling of it. I think he was like what he was wanting is what I was picking up, and so which I would love to hear. And he just let me run with it. So I went ham on it, and I brought in a bunch of veterans. And I just started going to town, what I normally do, interfacing with special effects and production design, stunts, you name it, man. It was a dream. It's kind of like I was in Disneyland. I loved it.
Well, so I haven't read the Civil War script. I don't know what that looks like, but did he just come to you and say, build out a sequence for me? Or was it in the script, like they go here to here, they attack here
it was
here?
vague. It was like broad strokes. Yeah, it was very vague. There's like some other components that I helped him understand. Like I used to, if you look at any city that's been under siege, Fallujah, for example, right? You can find lots of videos on Fallujah, and something you'll see is the occupation of rooftops, right? So we use rooftops strategically for mortar systems, as observation, right? As troops are moving, one will collapse, move forward, occupy another rooftop, so on and so forth. So there's like little, like I said, texture of what a city looks like as it's being under siege. So yeah, I just kind of, as he had some ideas of just how it was going to unfold, but I just started to add the texture, just to fill in the gaps of some stuff and giving them ideas of what I saw in war zones, and just helping them build that all out.
Yeah. And then, okay, so you guys work on this, and then you're telling this story about Ramadi, about the what happened to Elliot, and that's when he's like, we should make a movie out of that. How did that collaboration come about?
I think as he explains it, I think in the editing process, he would like send me clips and stuff. 'Cause like some of the stuff I design, I don't expect him to know that. That's why I'm there. I try to build it out. There's a lot going on in there, a lot of moving parts. There's almost like a dance, like even in itself, like a vocabulary that most people don't understand, especially when you design something so complex. The person who designs it is like usually the only person that can really truly understand it. Anyway, so in the editing process, he sent it to me and I gave some notes. But I think, as I mentioned before, he discovered this very grounded, like verite style action. The lulls, like the peaks and valleys, the sounds of it being super loud, juxtaposed to like it being super quiet, and then the firefight accelerates again because people get tired. Humans get tired. If you watch if you watch boxing, the rounds are 3 minutes for a reason, right? You can't just keep boxing for 20 minutes. So in gunfights, there's natural lulls. People get tired, and there's these odd, weird silences that just exist for some reason. And then it'll pick back up and it'll be complete chaos again. So I think he was just recognizing something that he hadn't seen before. So he called me. He's like, hey, I have this idea I think we should do a longer version of this. I think we should just do a really true, honest depiction of what combat is. I would love to do an hour and a half window or so. We're not allowed to expand it. We're not allowed to compress it. We can only slide the window in a single event. And he's like, do you have anything in mind? This story has always just been sitting there. there's a lot of stories in a 20-year war. There's a lot of stories that resonate. Battle of Fallujah, Takugar, Haditha Dam, Battle of Ramadi. I could go on and on. There's like these incidents or battles that are all worth telling. But I always wanted to tell this one, and so I just felt I think I was ready to tell it. It fit in kind of the parameters, kind of this like Dogma 95 movement style kind of roles that we set on ourselves. It was contained, it's compartmentalized for the most part, and so I felt it was good. I was always hesitant prior to that because you give something like that to a director. I was just afraid they were gonna mess it up, and so I've always held on to it, and I wasn't gonna do it until it was the right time. Mm-hmm. Until I met the right person and the right people. A24 being a huge part of that, giving us the freedom to tell that story. So it took a lot of like things being in place for me to give like the go ahead to do that. One of them being trust with Alex, for me to go down that road and unpack a lot of these things. There had to be trust there that we were on the same page. Me understanding what kind of movie he wanted to make, and him understanding what the story I wanted to tell. Right, those had to be very much in line, and everybody had to be in line with that, to include the cast and who we casted and how we were going to shoot it and what was going to be required of them. So yeah, it was kind of a perfect just alignment of everything from A24 to Alex to the cast to the crew. There was me having done a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows. I know that's rare, right? It's an anomaly. It's an outlier. Now being on this side of it, it's kind of a miracle if you've been on enough movie sets. Yeah.
The cast is amazing. I mean, I could run through the whole cast right now, but I'm not going to because we don't have time. I do want to just highlight the performance by the young man playing Ray Mendoza, DeFaro. I'm going to butcher his last name, Wunatai.
Sounds good to me. Yeah,
that's good. Okay, but no, he's so good on this FX show, Reservation Dogs. If you haven't watched that, watch it. And he's so good in this. What was it like directing yourself? What was it like directing him to kind of be like you on a mission, as opposed, actor versus real person? It has to have been kind of a weird experience, right?
It was at first. When it started to feel weird to me, I just had to detach myself. I had to make it like non-emotional. Because then I would get too much in the weeds on it, as in, I don't talk that way. I don't walk that way. Why are you doing that? Don't do it that way. Right. So I had to give him a little bit of freedom. I didn't want to, and I didn't want him to feel that pressure. I wanted him to kind of, as long as he captured the essence and the spirit of it, it's all I really cared. And, there's just critical nodes, I had to check off of things he needed to do, but I couldn't. I had to really detach myself from that and treat him like everyone else, like he was just a character that I needed to track, like his arc, essentially, and make sure he was hitting the things he needed to hit. Because it would have just been too emotional for me. There's just no way I would have been either angry or crying every day, and that's you can't. Yeah, you can't be that way. It's just too exhausting.
Yeah. That's about all the time we have. I always like to close these interviews by asking if there's anything I should have asked, if you think there's anything folks should know about your movie Warfare, or society in general. What did we not discuss that we should have?
How Elliot felt about the film.
Yes. How did Elliot feel about the film?
He loved it. He has 2 kids that he can now share this with because he hasn't been able to describe it until this point.
I mean, there are shots of him on the set watching you guys film kind of at the end. What was his experience like going, I say going back there, but being kind of back in that environment?
It's very informational for him. Like I say, he doesn't remember it and he can't speak. And so a lot of questions. We went through the whole thing and, we had references for the house. So the house is pretty accurate. We went through the whole thing and described it, and then we started filming it. And it filled that void that's been there for almost 20 years.
Hey, YouTube fam, if you want to support the Bulwark, the best way to do it is by becoming a YouTube Bulwark Plus member. The Bulwark is truly independent. We have no corporate overlords. We're not settling any dumb lawsuits with Trump. By joining, you help support our work, and you can get a bunch of perks right here on this platform. Ad-free content, bonus videos, live streams, and some emojis of me, which I guess some people want. So come join, come hang out, become a Bulwark YouTube Plus member, and I'll be seeing you in the comments. So behave.